We haven't been talking about UFOs for a little while on this channel now, and there's a reason for that. And we've just had a new Tic Tac video come out, and I think that's a good reason to talk about why we haven't been talking about UFOs as much on the channel. And you can probably tell by the title and the thumbnail that I'm annoyed. I'm pissed off about it. And so today we're going to look at the video. We're going to look at what Jeremy Corbel has to say about it. He's the guy that brought it out. But I want to really talk about why I think this is just bullshit and why this should not be celebrated. It should not be applauded. But before we get into that, I do have something important to talk about just quickly. Now, if you've watched this channel for a little while, you'll know that I'm quite fond on collecting things. And it's actually been a little while since we added to the collection here. So we have this dusty old tome over here that's been collecting dust. So if we just want to pull this out quickly. There we go. The YouTube Conspiracy Collection. So if you at home could all just take your Bibles out and turn to page 5, I would like you all to join me in a ceremony as we add our third sticker to the YouTube Conspiracy Collection. The Apollo program. This is like the Babe Ruth card, the George Best. This is, the moon landing is like the absolute OG conspiracy, and I think any conspiracy decks would not be complete without it. So I'm very honored to have been able to collect this one so early on in my journey. So if you haven't seen it yet, the last video just here, we did a deep dive on the moon landing, the Apollo program, and I gotta say, there are a lot of things that just don't add up for me. But as always, you should go and check it out and make up your own mind. So, formalities out of the way, let's talk about what's going on in UFO land. So, by the way, I'm Josh. If this is the first time watching the channel, welcome. You probably think I'm some unhinged version of Ash Ketchum trying to fill a Pokedex full of conspiracies, and you would be correct in that assumption. So, if you're a member of the channel, you may have watched the After Dark episode, Polarity After Dark, which was this episode here, where, we get a little bit more personal. We don't have any kind of script. We just kind of talk straight off the cuff about how we're feeling about things. And I kind of touched on this in that video. I've been making a lot of videos about other topics, things that I think are related to UFOs and consciousness. They're in the same field, but kind of just to the side, away from UFOs and stuff, because I've been feeling a little bit cynical. And I've been unsure how to talk about this on the channel properly. But at the end of the day, I think I just need to stay true to myself and stay true to you guys and just tell you exactly how I'm feeling. Because more and more, I'm beginning to feel like this whole thing is a controlled psyop. Now, there's obviously a lot more to that, but we have been getting spun around in circles for years. People are claiming that they're looking for answers and non-human intelligence. Meanwhile, we've got humanoid tridactyl skeletons with elongated skulls in Peru that nobody seems to care about or want to talk about. We're just concerned about this imminent threat in our skies. I don't feel threatened. I'm fine. You know what I mean? But there are these things that actually look like NHI that no one wants to talk about. Okay. So this video just here came out in 2017. This is the original Tic Tac video that was filmed in 2004. Okay, so this video is actually over 20 years old. We got it over a decade later. And, at the time, it was pretty groundbreaking. It was like, wow, we're getting real radar footage about something anomalous that we've never seen. We can't really explain. It's exhibiting capabilities that are just totally unexplainable. This is cool. It finally feels like we're making up a bit of ground. Nearly 10 years later, we got this video. Filmed in 2023, and it's just come out. And people are throwing their arms up in the air and celebrating. Wake the fuck up. Respectfully. You are being led in circles. We have been looking at this for nearly 10 years, and now we get this. What the fuck is going on here? And look, no shade on Jeremy Corbel. I like Jeremy Corbel. I've talked about him on this channel before. He cops a lot of shit because he's a pretty excited, eccentric dude. And, I think that's just his personality. I don't think that's a reason to dislike him. I think he's acting in good faith. I think a lot of these people think they're genuinely doing something good or getting somewhere. But, you know, the reality is we all know that this is real. We all know that there's something in the skies that we can't explain. And I feel like we've just been getting strung along for nearly 10 years. And, you know, before that as well. This didn't just start in 2017. It's been going on for a long time. And people have claimed they've been trying and trying, and we've gotten nowhere. Now, I've got a lot more to say about it, but let's just watch the video first, and then we'll keep going.
That shit took off earlier.
Sorry, I think I'm going into ontological shock. We shouldn't be applauding this. Okay, we shouldn't congratulate this. We don't encourage this behavior. This is shit. This is not good enough. This is not the transparency that we've been promised or that what we want. And again, this isn't on Jeremy Corbel, by the way. Like, he's a filmmaker. He's a reporter. It's not his responsibility to be getting the truth out to the public. You know, he's just doing his thing, okay? This is not against him. This is about where we're at versus where we should be. I think this is on Congress. It's on the president to do what they said they were going to do. Why haven't Congress got in any first-hand whistleblowers? There's plenty of people out there who claim to be a lot closer to this stuff, to the reverse engineering, to the seeing NHI firsthand. Why aren't they? Where's the next hearing? Why aren't they in Congress? What's going on? Now, again, there's a lot more to get into, but I've got a little clip of Jeremy Corbel basically talking about it on News Nation. So let's check that out, and then I'll open the floodgates and let the ramble continue.
Yeah, man, this is an interesting case. There is power in military footage. It's few and far between that we get great sensor data on something that is truly anomalous. And that's what we're seeing here, backed up, of course, by the eyewitness testimony. You know, this ship is one of the most technologically equipped ships. But additionally, this is a senior ranking Navy official who I believe will end up coming forward. They saw these craft coming out of the water, at least one of them coming out of the water. That's transmedium. This is in the Combat Information Center. Also, they saw 4 of them in total. They saw them on radar, then they picked them up in thermal. That's why it looks black and white. But if you look at a plane through that system, you see wings, a tail, exhaust, rotors, all sorts of heat signatures. You're not seeing that here. So again, it was tracked on radar, tracked on thermal. There was a kind of a synchronized, coordinated, instantaneous departure described to me and George Knapp by the firsthand witnesses. This is really reminiscent of the 2004 Tic Tac UFO, where Commander
Yeah, it's the exact same thing, and it's not interesting.
David Fravor, who testified in front of Congress, chased a UFO for the United States military. Cat's out of the bag. Sailors are seeing stuff, and now we have more evidence.
I mean, you could argue the cat came out of the bag nearly 10 years ago, but that's fine. Continue.
How big, and do we have stuff like that?
Yeah, no, everybody says we don't have stuff like that. Don't take my word for it. Commander David Fravor testified in front of Congress. We didn't have technology like this in 2004. We do not have technology like that now.
Look, Stephen Greer, hate him or love him, whatever, he makes a very good point where it's like, why would you know what we have right now? Why would Commander David Fravor know what the cutting edge of black budget aviation is? I understand he was like a Top Gun pilot. I get that. But, you know, the compartmentalization is so deep that, you know, why would he know? What is that? Like only like over like 100,000 or something people worked on the atomic bomb, but only 8 people actually knew what they were building. You know, this is like, why would he know? Why would Jeremy Corbel know? You wouldn't.
We also wouldn't be testing, you know, kind of black budget technologies in these warning areas right off the coast of San Diego. This has been going on for decades, if not centuries. we don't have technology like this, but take the word of people that testify in front of Congress who know.
Why do you think they're not telling us?
Yeah, man, it brings us back to like the core question here. We want transparency. We want the truth. We've been told UFOs are real, but that's it. Congress has done their best so far. I am holding hope. If you remember this last hearing at Congress, I was able to bring in the Immaculate Constellation documents, and I actually brought the whistleblower himself in to speak with members of Congress. He didn't testify publicly for personal reasons so far, but we learned from his testimony that there are thousands of videos of high quality of UFOs, UAP that's been admitted to, the public hasn't seen. I'd sure like to see them.
Well, there we go. I mean, if the Congress really is doing their best, let me just get this down here. If the Congress really is doing their best, then that to me says there are structures in place to stop Congress doing anything meaningful on this topic. Either that or the Congress is genuinely just terrible at their job. But I don't think that's the case. I think there are structures in place to stop people getting further. And I think people either underestimate or perhaps, maybe not underestimate is the right word, but that's what I'll go with for now, just to keep the show flowing, because this is a live show. We do it in one take. I think people underestimate the idea of a breakaway civilization. It's becoming pretty clear from multiple sources that people like Thomas Townsend Brown mastered gravity in the mid 50s. Okay. And there are also a lot of testimony of people having seen themselves Nazis with prototype, not quite stable yet, flying discs, some of which ran on like conventional methods that we still use today. Others that were more in the realm of like electrogravitic. Okay, that's not me saying that. That's me just telling you what's out there. And obviously, thousands of those brightest scientists and engineers came to America after the war, Operation Paperclip. Okay, and we also know that a lot of physics has literally been locked up and pushed away and made a state secret. Okay, we know all of these things. We know all of these little tidbits as fact, right? So why do people assume that this craft isn't ours? Why are people like, we know all these things that make you scratch your head that happened 60 years ago, more, but for some reason people are so confident and just being like, oh yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that technology. How do you know? How would you know? And if that's the case, if we're really trying to get to the bottom of, who is this spooky imminent threat Tic Tac in our sky that we just can't figure out for 10 years? We can't get a single thing done. Like maybe go look at the tridactyls in Peru. If we're talking about a non-human intelligence, it looks like we have a whole bunch of them actually mummified in Peru. They're sitting there waiting. No one cares about them. There's just so many things that make it clearer and clearer each day that this is a farce. Disclosure is a farce. I don't think it has anything to do with us coming to shake hands with an alien or an imminent threat or anything like that. And, there's a lot of nuances here, obviously. And I'm kind of just rambling. So, things that I say could have their own whole episode to discuss further in depth and nut out all the nuances with it, right? But I think the planet is so big that the potential of a civilization that has always existed here could have done so without us knowing, especially if they have some kind of hyper advanced technology that to us just looks like magic. And, people like Danny Sheehan have said he has said they have bases deep in the oceans and high in the mountains, maybe even in Antarctica. Operation High Jump, anybody? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I believe there's non-human intelligence, 100%. I feel like, we know that. We kind of got that idea in 2017. That's why this video is annoying. But, we're not going to meet them and shake hands with them. I think, connecting with them is already being done and has been done for a long time through consciousness. And I think that there are technologies that are not publicly available that are assisting people with this connection. You could maybe call it psionic assist. So I think forms of non-human intelligence are real. And I think a very, very minute percentage of the things that have been seen in the sky going all the way back to the 40s probably is that. But I think a lot of it from then on, including the Tic Tac, is ours. That's just my personal opinion right now. Now, my opinions are fluid. I'm not married to any idea. I'm just being real with you guys and telling you how I'm feeling based off what I'm watching and what I'm reading and what I'm seeing. I think, the only... I just don't think there's an imminent threat, okay? I do not think there's an imminent threat. I think the idea of them preparing to attack us is a joke. That is the disclosure they want to give us, okay? And if they are to finally confirm that NHI are real, I think that breaks the smokescreen. That kind of tears down this illusion that we're under threat, and then they lose control of the narrative. Because now there's a higher power, a higher intelligence that would kind of deem... I feel like it would maybe render them kind of not redundant, but like, the military, the government, it's like you're now subpar. You're now like just, you're second to something else that's bigger and stronger than you. And I feel like maybe they fear what that would do to them. Look, again, just spitballing here, just spitballing. The only thing they do seem to do, or something seems to do, is turn off our nukes or blow up our missiles in midair. So maybe take a fucking hint. Put the nukes away. Stop shooting missiles at each other. I don't know, just an idea. So look, again, this is all very nuanced and it's very complicated. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I feel like I do recognize when we're being had, and I feel like we're being had here. And I don't think it's intentional by everybody. I think some people, like Jeremy Corbel, are just kind of wrapped up in it. They're wrapped up in it, and I feel like it can be hard to see what's going on when you're in the thick of it. That's just my opinion. I like Jeremy. Actually, one thing I want to do, and I didn't prepare this, so you might need to give me a moment. If you follow me on X, you may have seen the other day, by the way, I haven't flashed the socials in a while. I'm on all these platforms. Give me a follow. On X the other day, I asked ChatGPT, what would you do if you're in this situation, if you were the CIA and you're responsible for all of this stuff? And the response that it gave me was crazy. Okay, here it is. All right. So just the other day, I said to ChatGPT, by the way, there's my action figure coming to a store near you soon. I asked ChatGPT, if you were the CIA and largely responsible for the vast amount of UAP that are being seen around the world, how would you manage the mounting pressure for disclosure without giving away the secrets of your advanced technology? That's all I said. One prompt, and this is what it spat out to me. If I were the CIA and behind a large portion of the UAP activity, with the public now persistently demanding transparency, I'd be walking a razor-thin line between maintaining secrecy and managing perception. Here's how I might approach it. 1. Controlled disclosure, drip feed strategy. Start releasing curated, ambiguous footage and documents through official and unofficial channels, e.g. leaks, to satisfy the public's curiosity while steering the narrative. These releases would appear unclassified or partially redacted, contain just enough mystery to provoke interest, but not enough to give away tech specs or origin. Suggest some UAPs are foreign or naturally occurring, shifting focus away from US-made craft. Number 2, create controlled confusion, deliberately muddy the waters. Encourage belief in aliens, time travelers, or interdimensional beings through subtle support of fringe theories. Amplify conflicting expert opinions to fracture public consensus. Seed disinformation campaigns in online communities to keep everyone guessing. Sound familiar? 3, leverage private aerospace contractors. Any actual US tech development would be buried inside black projects run by private companies beyond the reach of FOIA. Hidden underneath code names unrelated to UAPs, e.g. advanced propulsion test platforms. Not stored on government property, further shielding it from oversight. I mean, that's, we know that We know that happens already. That's kind of just public knowledge. 4, use high-level public figures as pressure valves. Deploy retired officials, ex-CIA or Pentagon insiders. 2, appear as whistleblowers while still operating within controlled limits. Push for transparency while never actually revealing classified technology. Maintain the illusion that the government itself is seeking the truth. Congressional hearings. Redefine the language. Avoid ever using terms like American black projects or secret government craft. Instead, always use vague language like non-human intelligence or anomalous. Frame the conversation around national security and flight safety, not accountability. Capitalize on the too crazy to be true factor. If something slips through, let it be so advanced or absurd that people won't believe it's real. Exploit the psychological buffer that prevents people from truly accepting something world-changing unless it's officially confirmed. So look, you know, let's say number 6, to me, straight away, I think of someone like Jason Sands. Now, I don't know if... I don't really know if he's telling the truth or not. His story is interesting. He's compelling. He comes across like a pretty nice and sound guy with a bit of a rough upbringing. Not that that automatically makes you an honest person, but, you know, I think it makes you a bit more relatable. He says he saw a human-looking, non-human intelligence that had no ears, that his skin was so white it looked hypothermic and almost blue-tinted skin, and was looking for a mineral to repair its craft. That is the too crazy to be true factor. Why are people like that allowed to come forward and they're not taken out like a lot of these other people are? What's the difference? Is it allowed disinformation, or is it some of the wild truth being let slip and capitalizing on the fact that people are just going to be like, this guy's a lunatic? I don't know. What do you guys think? It's a lot. It is a lot. And, you know, again, I don't claim to have the answers. I'm just another guy like you digging through this stuff. But I feel like I have to call it out. When I feel like we're being had, I'm not going to post a video and be like, wahoo, a Tic Tac. No, we saw that 10 years ago. This is bullshit. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Either if it's good, bad, happy, sad, I don't care. If you think I should be deplatformed, tell me. If you think I am Josh Radamus, you can tell me that too. You're all entitled to your opinion. But if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, share it around, subscribe if you haven't already, because we are so close to 10K. I can smell it, and we're going to unlock a whole bunch of exciting stuff when we get there. So be good, be kind, and I'll see you next time.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk